trying to save your money? Well, today I want to show you how I went from zero to a $100,000 investment bank account, along with my expectations versus reality. How long did this take? How much did I have to save month over month? Along with all these little fun tips on hopefully helping you on your own financial journey. So let's jump right into this. Welcome back, my passive income investors alike. In this video, we're going to go over my entire journey to getting to $100,000. And to kind of make this as relatable as possible, to hopefully get you guys understanding that you can do this as well, is I have never made more than $40,000 a year. So I want you guys to keep that in mind as we go forward, because I do work for myself. I end up having a lot more expenses, including cars and work materials, and I have to pay tax on top of that. So I've never really made much more than minimum wage. So let's step back in time, guys. Let's go all the way back before we jump the gun here and get too far forward. When I was 19 years old, I took out a $22,000 loan to start my business instead of going to school and getting a degree or an education. And in my personal opinion, this was one of my biggest mistakes, because for the next 3 years, I had this massive weight on my back and I was forced to do jobs and any little extra thing I could do to get that loan paid off, because I borrowed it from my parents and I would feel horrible if I just decided to not pay my parents back. So by the end of that journey of paying that loan off and that weight was lifted off my shoulders, all of a sudden I realized, look, never again am I going to take out a loan. I never want to be forced to do something I don't want to do. So I wanted to put myself in kind of a position of power. So I realized, look, while I'm living at home with my parents, being a little bit of a minimalist, I'm going to start putting as much money away as humanly possible. So by the age of 22, 23 years old, I started putting away roughly $500 to $1,000 a month. So that is what I have managed to put away. Now, this doesn't add up to a whole lot, as I'm sure you can imagine, which I'm going to explain in a second here, guys. Now, $500 to $1,000 a month saved doesn't sound like a whole lot. And in fact, to you, it might even sound like a lot, because if you have bills and payments and other things going on, you might not even be able to save $100 a month. But unfortunately, you're never going to get into this kind of mode of saving without taking a step back and trying to focus on that minimalist lifestyle and cutting back on certain luxuries. Now, if you add this up month over month over the last 5 years, because I am now 27 years old, that would only equate to roughly about $60,000. So how did $60,000 become over 100? Well, I did something that was probably the smartest decision I ever made, and that was to start investing it in passive income resources so my money could make me money while I was still going to work. And I decided to choose the stock market. I did not have enough money to get into real estate. I didn't want to take out more money to try and go and get involved in somebody else's business. So I said, look, I'm just going to start funneling little bits of money into the stock market. Now, in the beginning, I did not have a whole lot of success, but where I started finding success was by listening to the right philosophies, which was don't day trade. Don't trade anything for that matter. Just buy good, solid companies and hold on to them for the rest of your life, which is advice you can get from the most wealthiest investors, including people like Warren Buffett. Now, over that 5-year period, that money was compounding on top of me putting money away, and I ended up making over $40,000 in capital gains. So all of that combined took me to over $100,000 starting 5 years ago, pretty much today, guys. And that was a long process, and there's been a lot involved in the middle. And if I can tell you anything to help you get closer to this, guys, it's yes, you're going to have to cut back on some luxuries, but more importantly, you're going to have to write this stuff down. The day my life really changed when it came to finance, guys, was when I started writing it all down. And recently, I'm going to show you a chart where I actually started paying attention to my income. So this is my total charting of how much money I make, how much I'm spending, including my portfolio growth from money I've added to it, and also includes my passive income, which is my dividend income, which is this red line you guys can see here. And all of this equates to me waking up every day to know exactly where I'm at, because if you don't know where you're at with your finances, well, you're not going to be able to find nice little ways of saving money, cutting back on certain things. Like, you need to be able to see this in the forefront of your mind every single day. Now, when I went into this, I didn't go into this with the understanding that I was going to be making $100,000. 5 years ago, I just went into this saying, look, I never want debt again. I don't care how much money I end up saving. I don't care if it's 10,000, a million. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is I'm never going to be in a situation where I'm going to have to be forced to do something I don't want to do because I owe somebody something. So the smartest thing that I possibly could have done, guys, was first of all making that decision, and the second thing was just writing it down. When I started writing it down, and all of a sudden everything changed for me, guys. All of a sudden, within a year or two, I had $20,000 in the bank, and that was a big moment for me. Not that first thousand, not that first 10,000, where most people start getting a little bit more giddy. My real big light moment came when I made that first $20,000, because $20,000, guys, if you can make an investment that pays you, say, 5%, well, you're going to be making about $1,000, $1,200 a year, which is an extra $100 a month of passive income in perpetuity for the rest of your life, so long as you're buying the right companies. So that $20,000 basically became a life-changing moment for me, because I realized now I can go on a vacation every year for the rest of my life if I so want to utilize that money. Or maybe that buys me dinner, coffee, or going out a couple times a month. I don't know, it's just extra money in the back of your pocket that all of a sudden I realized, look, I went from owing people money and interest to people owing me money and paying me interest. Now, when I get to that $50,000 mark, it didn't really matter to me at all, guys. None of this has really mattered along the way, because I never had an end game goal in mind. I just had that feeling of relief, and I kept chasing this feeling of further relief, further saving, further frugality, and it led up to the point where all of a sudden I hit over $100,000 just over a year ago, and it didn't change me that much, to be honest. I never noticed it. Honestly, I've constantly got to remind myself to celebrate the little wins. If you guys bank your first 10 grand, take $100, celebrate. If you make your first 20, 50, celebrate it, because I didn't celebrate it at all, because in my mind, it still wasn't exactly enough. It wasn't what I wanted, and I just wanted to keep saving. So by the time I hit that $100,000 mark, it didn't even faze me. I just realized that one day my accounts were up over 100K, and I was sitting here looking at it like, well, that's nice. And then I went back to living my regular life. $100,000 to somebody that has no money, it can be life-changing. But when you get into the mindset of passive income, you start hanging around millionaires, you start paying attention to financial gurus on YouTube, you're going to learn that this is like, what do they call it? This journey isn't just a sprint, guys. It is a marathon. So you got to keep that in mind going into this. This is things you need to do over your entire lifetime, because when you build this up, this is a legacy. This is some life-changing stuff to happen to you. Now, maybe you're in your 20s or your 30s, and if you are, I suggest taking advantage of this as soon as possible. Now, if you know nothing about the stock market and you're looking for passive income goals, you can check out our website, passiveincomeForDummies.com. Over here, we write a bunch of blog posts. There's a bunch of products to help you better further understand stock market investing. And the reason I kind of recommend stock market investing over anything else is there's no upfront, you've done the upfront work. Like, you've made the money. You've already went out, you worked, you saved the money. Now you're going to give it to some other business to work for you. Now, the problem is if you want to get into real estate, well, you're going to have to save up a huge chunk of change, including about this amount of money. And then you're going to have to go out, you're going to have to find a property, you're going to have to manage it, clean it up, fix it, find tenants, manage tenants. It becomes a lot of stress, which is what I don't enjoy. I enjoy a stress-free life. And the stock market provides that for me. Now, there are other ways to invest your money and grow it, but you will never get to $100,000 very quickly unless you make a very high income at your job, you're able to save a very large amount of that, or you've done what I have done and you started investing the little bits of money that you've made. And my guess is if you are like me, you're probably not making a huge amount of money, which means you think you can't get rich without making, a six-figure income, but you really don't need to make 100K a year to do what I've done here. And I hope you guys have learned something from this. So let me know in the comment section below what you think. So I'd love to know what you think in the comment section below. How is your financial journey going, guys? What are your personal goals? Do you have a goal in mind set 5 years from now, 10 years out? Heck, if you're new to investing and you want to learn further about all this stuff, guys, I'm even going to give you a discount code. It's Black Friday, so for this entire weekend coming up, I'm going to save you guys 50% off this investing course. It's usually $125. I'm going to knock it down to 60 for you. So if it doesn't get any better than that, if you want to start learning anything that I've done here, you're more than welcome to. But stay cool. Stay awesome, guys. I look forward to chatting to you real soon.